We've all heard them. I've told a few myself. Lies about retirement. So, what are the top lies that people tell or have heard about retirement in America? I will tell you as a financial professional, so stay with me. Now, I've done a lot of retirement planning in my career. I would say, of my career, the nearly decade I've spent as a financial advisor, probably about a third of that time has been sitting with clients one to one, planning out their retirement. What are those top lies that people tend to tell themselves or tell others about retirement? This is part two to a video I did about a week ago. And if you want to know the top 5 lies that people tell themselves about retirement, just follow the tag above. Number 1, everything will be all right. We'll make do. We'll find a way. No, you won't. No, you won't. When I hear these lines from an individual in a retirement plan, I know that they're telling me something more important, and I need to stop the retirement planning for a moment and delve into why they are saying this. And usually they are making these statements because they're afraid, they have some anxiety about retirement plan, or they know that they haven't done enough to lead the retirement that they want to lead in a couple of years, and they feel some kind of way about it. Oftentimes, it opens up a broader discussions about regrets from younger years. They didn't start saving for retirement soon enough, and now they're saying everything will be all right, we'll make do, as a way of coping, as a way of self-deception. They basically feel like they have to live a retirement of compromise, and they have to make themselves okay with that. Now, tens of millions of Americans lead retirements of compromises. Now, this is a rather common phenomenon in American society, but for my clients who I care for very deeply, I don't want them to feel like they are leaving a career only to step into poverty and a life of severe compromise. So when I hear these phrases from the client, we stop and we reset and we come up with a way to make retirement engaging and exciting for an individual. A good example, I've used this example many times, is discovering a way that we can incorporate an experience abroad into their retirement. Americans do retire abroad and come back to America at some point in the future. They do that for a variety of reasons, including adventure, learning a new language, learning a new craft, but they also do it essentially to save money. So at this point, when I hear everything will be all right, we'll make do, etc., well, why do you have to make do? Let's come up with something that you're excited about, that I'm excited about, that we can set up for your retirement, where you can save money, have an adventure, and create a retirement of your dreams. So typically, when I'm able to stop and reframe the conversation into making it into something that the individual is excited about, it adds new light to the conversation and adds a new dimension to the conversation. And the person is ready to engage and also ready to think outside the box in terms of retirement planning and come up with something that is creative, new, and different that will excite them for retirement. The second lie that I hear about retirement, and this one scares me when I hear it, it's a showstopper. We immediately have to stop the planning process and address this. And it's the phrase, my kids will. My kids will provide a place for me to live in retirement. My kids will provide money or resources in retirement. My kids will provide long-term care in retirement. Now, in certain cultures, this is quite common that the children take care of the parents in retirement. In American culture, this used to be the way we handled retirement, but I feel like this is going by the wayside. And I feel the adult children, mainly in Generation X, millennials, and Gen Zers, will not have the resources to basically provide for themselves and provide for their parents in retirement. And the scary thing is when people come in with this phrase, my kids will, they often haven't even spoken to their kids about this plan. This is something that basically they are superimposing on their adult children and just assume that their adult children will step in and pick up the pieces and provide housing and healthcare and money and et cetera and this and that. So it's a self-deception. It's basically straight cope when I hear this from an individual. And the way that I deal with this is essentially we have a conversation. And I've seen this actually play out, and I've never seen it play out in the retiree's favor. So you think your kid's going to provide housing, you're going to live with your daughter. Okay, let's say 3 years into your retirement, your daughter has to move clear across the country to Connecticut for her job, for a promotion, or for some great opportunity. Do you want to move clear across the country with her? Usually the answer is no. Or better yet, I have seen this scenario happen. You're living with your son and his wife experience a rough period and decide to divorce. The house has to be sold. It's a stressful time for your son because he's going through a relationship breakdown, but he also has to find new housing in California, and housing is very expensive, for himself and for his mother in a short period of time. It just doesn't work out, and it puts you at ground zero for a very dramatic situation, which is a divorce, in which you probably don't want to be part of in your retirement. In terms of money, giving parents money, I think adult kids come into this with the best intentions, and it just doesn't work out that way. I have seen scenarios where adult children do provide money to parents, but typically in that situation, not all the children are equally yoked. For example, there are two kids, one kid is doing really well, one kid isn't doing well, and only the kid who's doing well can provide resources for their parents' retirement. I've seen that provide a lot of resentment and anger in the family. And eventually something happens in that kid's life where they can't or they won't provide for their adult parent anymore. Maybe the adult kid loses a job. Maybe adult kid experiences a breakdown in a relationship, but they just can't provide for that adult parent anymore. And it leaves the adult parent in a lurch. Terms of long-term care, once again, I think adult children have the best intentions to provide long-term care for retirees or for their parents. But I think sometimes the long-term care needs are so intensive that no one outside of a trained professional can provide those long-term care needs. The person really needs a CNA or an RN, or needs to be in an assisted care facility. And no matter how much that kid wants to provide long-term care support for that parent, they're just not a trained medical professional to be able to provide that level of care. So then the parent's long-term care plan, which was their kid, completely falls apart. Anytime somebody says, my kid will, I know that's a giant red flag, and I know there's a level of self-deception going on there. I think adult children step into situations with the best of intentions. I've never quite seen a scenario where it's really worked flawlessly. There are a few situations where retirees have lived with children, but that's about it. When it comes to directly giving money or providing long-term care, there always is a breakdown at some point where they find their adult children cannot provide what is needed to live a comfortable retirement. Okay, the next deception that I hear in my office, well, no one in America has a plan for retirement. Well, this one is partial truth and partial cope. 50% of Americans don't have a single dime saved in a retirement account, and tens of millions of Americans live on Social Security alone. So there is a grain of truth in that. But here's the reality. You don't want to have the average retirement that the average American gets, because generally it's a retirement of compromise. You want to lead the retirement on your own terms. You want to travel. You want to dine out. You want to spend time with friends. You want to spend time with family. You want to have options in your retirement. And the only way that you can do that is by having adequate resources set aside for retirement. I usually hear this, no one has a plan for retirement, when someone is deeply frustrated or deeply ashamed that they don't have enough money or resources saved for retirement, and they understand that they are going to have to make some hard compromises. Typically, when someone says this in my office, I have to reset them and say, well, that isn't true. There's a lot of people who have a plan for retirement. And a lot of people, I will tell you this, even if you don't have much money, having a plan will put you light years ahead of the average American. So if you have a plan, and even if you don't have very much resources, you have a way forward. But if you don't have a plan and you don't have much resources, or if you don't have a plan and you do have resources, there's opportunity for major problems to bubble up in retirement. So just remember, having a plan and working with a financial professional can put you light years ahead of the average American in terms of your experience for retirement. Okay, the next deception, the next lie I hear about retirement: my house will provide my retirement. Now, I live in San Francisco and I hear this a lot. In the past 35 years or so, California has seen enormous run up in values of homes. And I have had cases where clients have successfully sold homes in California and moved to lower cost of living areas. And they were able to take hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars with them that they used successfully for retirement. I don't like making a house the pinnacle of an individual's retirement plan. And let me explain why. So in San Francisco, I've lived in San Francisco for many years and love it, but San Francisco is prone to earthquakes. California in the past decade is prone to natural disasters like floods and fires. You have a home in San Francisco, the home is valued worth 2.5 million. Major earthquake comes along, red tags the home or completely flattens the home. Now you have a home basically worth zero. So you have to provide housing for yourself, and your retirement just went to hell in a handbasket. Very few people here actually have earthquake insurance. Earthquake insurance is otherworldly expensive. It has gigantic premiums and it has an enormous deductible on it, so most people forego it. Probably out of my clients, maybe 20% actually have earthquake policies on their homes if they can get it, So for that reason and a few others that I won't go into detail about, I really don't like the concept of a home providing a retirement plan. For the clients it has worked out well with, essentially they were able to sell their homes before the big one hit. For the clients who are still holding on to their homes and living in those homes in the Bay Areas, it's kind of like musical chairs. We know that a major earthquake eventually will hit this area. And if their home is severely damaged or destroyed, they are in a pickle because they have to find a new place to live and their retirement is just has gone out the window. Next lie I hear: I'm going to work forever. I'm going to work forever. This is a lie that many Americans believe. The average age for retirement is about 62 or 63 in America. And most Americans want to work longer and feel that they have more to contribute, but companies often sideline older workers, and they're often the people who are caught up in the first rounds of layoffs, or they're offered a severance package and basically shown the door, or they have health issues or family issues that take them out of the workplace. Now, some people have the great fortune, if they so choose, to work until their 70s, but it is exceptionally rare. And whenever I'm speaking to someone, even if they tell me they are going to work forever, I always insist that we need to plan an exit date from the workforce, because you may not want to exit the workforce, but the workforce may force you to exit, or your health may force you to exit, or your family may force you to exit. So anytime I hear I'm going to work forever, I know that is a coping strategy, or I know that is a self-deception or a lie. And if this person is indeed planning to work forever, they need to really reset their expectations and plan a date of exit from the workforce. Okay. Now, this last lie that I hear, this one is big, and I think this one is going to catch a lot of Americans off guard. But whenever I hear someone say my pension, okay, pensions do default. And I have had experiences where I've had clients who have had pensions and the pension has gone into default. Anytime someone mentions that they have a pension, it requires some investigation. And I think there is a lot happening with pensions that are not in the public eye that are concerning. Oftentimes, pension boards who run the investments and the finances of a pension, they're not trained financial professionals. They're often members of the community, maybe members who are receiving pensions, current workers. They're often not trained professionals, and they often invest in things that may not be in the pension's best interest. Oftentimes, when I'm investigating a pension with the publicly released information, I may have questions like, okay, one pension may be invested in US Treasuries and it says they're only invested in US Treasuries, yet they're returning 8% a year, year after year, decade after decade. It's like, how is that so? How are you investing in Treasuries? And Treasuries, until recently, were at under 1%, but you're consistently returning 8% each year. I have seen pensions that there was no transparency into what they were invested in. I've also seen pensions where it just didn't make sense what they were invested in, or the risk was through the stratosphere given the totality of the pension's assets and the clients, the actual recipients of those pensions. So anytime someone says my pension in relation to retirement, I know I need to do some investigation as a financial advisor to make sure that pension is on firm footing. It's also an ongoing process because a pension may be doing like a wonderful job now, but 5 years from now, they get new board members in and suddenly they're invested in cryptocurrency and some, NFTs or something like that. So, when anyone has a pension, it does require some due diligence to keep an eye on what they are doing. I think people deceive themselves in thinking that pensions are rock solid. I have seen pensions go into default. I think we're going to see more defaults in the future from pensions because pensions are investing in things like private equity, hedge funds, cryptocurrency, things that I think the board members who are making these investment choices don't entirely understand the level of risk that they are taking on. And I think eventually there will be repercussions to that. So there you have it. A few more lies that people believe about their retirement. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like. And if you found this information useful, please subscribe.